Does that make you horny? So I was talking about David Icke and the book he wrote, and I'm reading. That's a very good song. The Book I Read by the Talking Heads. That is my favourite Talking Heads song. The Book I Read, Talking Heads. Go fucking listen. Um, Very good song. So he talks about like the reptilians, and so far it's all about how everything is wavelengths. So everything is wavelengths, like everything, and particles. But particles are the decoded form of wavelengths because we can't perceive waves, sound waves, and everything. And the five senses that we have are only a very small part of what reality consists of, and there's a lot. There's a lot. I think one of the general gists of the book is like if you control information, you control perception. If you control perception, you control behavior. So like when we're which is like I agree with generally, you know, people how they perceive the information is you know, there is some autonomy to some extent in that, but if if you're controlling a shit ton of information, then people are generally going to perceive it in a similar way. You show somebody a barking dog with baring its teeth, generally people are going to perceive it as danger, danger, and they're going to behave in a similar way. Similar manifestations of like, you know, cautionary, edgy, fucking don't let me get bit, bitch, sort of thing, you know. So yeah, he's talking about, and he talks about COVID in that and saying like how basically COVID is the pandemic is and mask wearing is. Oh yeah, mask wearing. I got confronted the day before yesterday for not wearing a mask, which is quite a fun interaction. It's quite nice for me to reflect upon how I behave in these sort of situations, because to me it shows I've sort of built some maybe self-esteem, but I've also got I've got my beliefs more. No, more like I'm more established in myself. You know, I'm less, more confident. Like there's this, I was on this more of a 20k walk, and I was finishing it up. I was in Tesco getting a meal deal, and they didn't provide me a fucking spoon or fork or a spork in my pasta. So I was sat outside the exit of Toten Tesco, just fingering the pasta in my mouth, just groveling it like a little fucking Jimmy. But anyway, I was crouching down, and there was a guy like over there, just behind me, fucking, I don't know, near the yogurt or something, and I was at the cheese, just guzzling on my water, crouched down for some reason. And he was like, "Oh yes, people aren't wearing masks. It's compulsory now, isn't it?" And talked to the shop assistant, and the shop assistant was like, "Oh yes, but it's not really giving too much of a fuck." And they were saying, he said, well, you should have security to escort anyone not wearing a mask outside of the store. And the lady said, "Oh yes, yes," and he was like this man here, he's not wearing a mask. And I was like, "Ooh, is he talking about me?" And I was like, "Well, maybe he's not talking." He said, "This man," and I was like, "Man?" I was like, "Ooh." I felt quite complimented. I was like, "Oh, he's referring to me as a man. Ooh, I'm a man, am I? Ooh. Not a dude or a lad or a guy or a boy or a man." Ooh. And she said like, "No, I'm not going to approach him." And he came over, and he said he just stood there, and he's like, "Are you going to put your mask on?" And I looked up at him and I went, "No." I went, "No." And he went, "Why not?" I says, I don't have one." And then he went, "Well, you should leave the store then." And I just said, "No." And I was just, and yeah, I also said, I bullshitted, and I said, "Oh, usually I have my, you know, I do actually have one of these, and I took it out with me last night when I went to the pub. I didn't have to use it, but I have like I'm exempt from my hidden illness my hidden disability makes me exempt from wearing a mask badge thing." And says, "Oh, I usually take that out, but I don't have it with me." And he went, "Oh." He's like, "Were you going to leave the store?" And I said, "No." And I just looked at him, just. And then he walked off, and he went, "Some people are really taking the piss." I just and at that point, that was the only point where a part of me wanted to be like, "Fuck you," and I wanted to say, "Some people could say the same about you," but I didn't, and I just got up and smiled, and I had a bit of banter with the. One of the shop assistants says, "Oh, there's always a bit of drama, isn't there?" And I just said that it wouldn't be life without a bit of drama, and we had a little giggle, and that was it. It was good, but in reflection, I think I behaved. I acted just as I would have. Like, I'm happy, fantastico. I didn't get overwhelmed or like intimidated at all. But if I was being a bit more of a dick, I guess, if he looked at me and he said that, I just really wish I said like, "Do you want a hug?" And he went like, "What? No, get your mask on." I really think you want a hug. I just really fucking provoked him, and he just go. That'd have been quite funny. Um, what else? I don't know what else to talk about. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about. I haven't been uploading these videos because I've been talking to a friend, sending a load of video messages to a friend and receiving a few, and it's been that's been really nice. Um, yeah. Um, 1 minute. I think I'm about done. What I will say, just on top of everything, is I was going to use a lot of this time back home to really work on like my road to self-employment thing of like building a course, um, and I've not really put much pressure on myself to do so at all. And I'm like, why not? And you know, I could put more pressure on myself, and maybe I will put some time into it. But recently, I've just been there's been a lot of emotional stuff, and I've always it's like when my friend didn't respond to me, and I said to her like, in my shoes, if I had a friend who I care about and whatever, if they send me a few really heartfelt messages, I would take the time, I would make the time to respond to them and to whatever. And that's me projecting myself, and I wasn't saying this is right, but I was just like, so you can understand why I'm hurt. This is what I'd have done. If you were doing that to me, if you were sending me the messages, I'd have made the time, and because you didn't make the time or whatever, that's why I'm hurt. But I realise that it's not your fault. There's no malintent on your part. I know that, but yeah, it's just a lack of understanding. We talked it out, and I understood more. And it's just how she is. She's more forgetful when she gets anxious. She doesn't want to express and listen to messages like that and whatever. And she's with a boyfriend a lot of all the time. So it's like when he's a bit insecure and that sort of stuff. So it makes sense. So we've got that understanding. But what I'm saying is, the point I'm trying to make is, other people, even just fucking like really productive, great, beautiful, wonderful people who will be super successful in their lives. If I said to them, "Oh, Jim Bob, why haven't you been working your ass off on your self-employment thing?" And he might just say, "I've just been really quite emotionally overwhelmed. It's been quite difficult living at home and dealing with stuff I'm dealing with." Then I'd go like, "Well, yeah, fucking fair enough." But if it's me living my life, I have like a couple of hours spare tonight. I could do a couple of hours of journaling 101 course for Udemy. But I'm like, I don't want to. I've done a lot of exercise today, and I just want to chill out in the evening. Um, you know, this morning was I was still quite emotional, and yesterday was